Okay, now let's everybody think we're all in a project. So we don't create programs for nothing, right? We don't simply create for programs without having any functionality, right?
Yes, sir.
Someone will
Yes, sir.
ask us to create a program for a specific reason, right? They need some functionality to display some data or to update some data or to create some data, right? Then only we are going to provide that solution. That might be a program or that might be a different object available in ABAP. Okay. In our scenario, let's assume we are all working in a project. We are all the ABAP development team and some functional consultant from HR team. Okay. Some HR functional consultant will send you an email or send you a functional specification to create one application, right? What is the requirement? So they need HR department. Some manager in the HR department needs a program to view or to display employees who joined on a specific day. So that every day he is going to monitor how many employees joined on January 1st, how many employees joined on January 2nd, how many employees joined on January 3rd. He can select the date and he can see who are all the employees joined. And he can, what is his plan? He wanted to interact with them. He wanted to talk them. He wanted to talk to them, right?
Yes, sir.
He wanted to interact with them, with the new employees who joined on a specific day. But how can he know the details? We need to provide the details in the form of report, right? Who are all the employees joined on a specific date, whatever he selected, he or she. Okay. For that, we need to create a program, right? Now, tell me, what is a prerequisite to start this program? What are the prerequisites to start this program? What do you need to start the program? First, you need to know
Program naming conventions.
requirement. Do you know the requirement or not now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Joining date. This is what my requirement. I got the requirement. So I need to create a program to display employees data by joining date. Next, what do you need to know? Selection screen for your program. What is the selection screen inputs? What are the inputs for this program? Date of join is the
join.
input because we need to select employee data by joining date, right?
Yes,
It
sir.
is very clear in the requirement. Or if they mention like joining date and city, here we have two
Inputs also date
inputs,
of joining and inputs.
joining date and city,
City.
right? But here they mentioned only,
Date of
let's
join.
assume we have both. Let's assume we have both date of join and city. Okay. Now that is now I've come to know my inputs. Now, what is the next step? I know the inputs from where I need to select the data, where the data is available.
From which table and all.
Yeah, you need to know the tables. What
Table
are all the
names.
tables you need to select, right? In our scenario, where you can find this employee date by joining date, go to the table. This is the table, right? So usually functional in the functional specification, they'll provide you the tables. So this is the relevant table and use this table for this data. If you don't provide, you have to check it. You have to work with someone. You have to find it yourself. Whatever you do, you have to find the relevant table. Now tell me, how many fields are there here? We have employee ID, employee
Four
name,
fields.
date of
Date
join,
of joining
then
and
this
include.
structure, we have city,
Address.
country, and phone number.
Phone number.
So that by providing, so they wanted to interact, right? So functional consultant informed me that HR manager wants the details to interact with them. So we need to provide their contact details, right?
Yes, sir.
We need to provide their phone number. Now this table is suitable, right? In this table we have all the data. What that HR manager is expecting. Okay, we have employee ID, employee name, and their phone number. City, country are optional. Okay, so let's display. Okay, clear? Now this is the table. In general, in general projects, data is not available in only single table. We have to select it from multiple tables and we have to make it as a final output, right?
Final table. Yes, sir.
So usually the data will not be available in same table, because if you want to select, if the HR manager want to display the employee department, do we have employee department data here?
No, sir.
For which department this specific employee is belongs to? We don't have. That data is in a different table. In which table?
Employee department table. EMP department.
CDMO, EMP, DEPT. Here we can see which employee belongs to which department, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we have to, if they want department data, now from how many tables we need to select the data?
Two tables.
Two tables. Okay. For now, just assume they don't want department data. Now, what is the third step? You need to know what are the tables. For example, this one. Fourth step, output. Output fields. So in the table, we might have 100 fields. Do they need all the data?
No, sir.
Always remember, report should be, that should contain data which is very necessary. Report should not contain unnecessary data. Okay? Because we don't call it as a report, right? Report, we should provide as small data as possible and the meaningful data in the report, right? If you give them 100 pages and ask them to check, for a manager, it is difficult for him, right, to go through all that 100 pages of data. But if you can summarize the data into one page, if you can summarize that 100 pages data into a single page, if you provide it, it would be helpful for him, right? It would be easy for him to review, right?
Yes, sir.
Also, we should provide them whatever the fields required. If you provide all the unnecessary fields, right, the report is very clumsy. Okay, it doesn't look good. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so we should provide as small data as possible with meaningful information. That is what report. Okay,
Okay, sir.
Let's say they want only specific fields. The HR manager wants to see only EMPI, employee ID, employee
Employee
name, and their
date of
city.
join.
Yeah, date of join. Anyway, they know the date of join because they are entering the date of join, right? Yeah, let's include it, and phone number. They want to see these fields. Okay. They don't want to see country and all the other details. Okay. But they are saying that phone number is mandatory. They wanted to see phone number compulsory. Okay. And they are saying that date of join is a mandatory input. So without entering the date of join, it should not allow you to select any data. Okay. Now you got this requirement or not? So they have provided you the
Yes,
functionality
sir.
of the program, and we analyzed, and we have identified the inputs, what we need to mention in the selection screen, and we know what are the database tables we need to use, and we know what is the expected output and what are the fields in the expected output. This is what the requirement gathering, right? This is what requirement gathering. You have to work with your functional consultant or business user. You have to gather these requirements, right? This process is same for any program, any object is in ABAP, but depends on the object. These inputs or these outputs might be different. Okay, this is what you have to do in the project. You have to work with your functional consultants and gather the requirement. What is mean by requirement? The requirement means what I need to do. You have to understand what you have to do, right? The work what you need to do. That's what you have to understand. Then only you can easily do it, right? If you don't know what you need to do, and if you don't ask questions to the functional consultants, what will happen? You cannot understand the requirement, what they are asking. You don't know what you need to create. You don't know, do we need to create a report program? Do we need to create an enhancement? You don't know, right? And you don't know from which tables you have to select the
Yes, sir.
data. It's all confusing. So when you start asking the questions to your functional consultants, then you will get the clarity on what you need to do. Okay. Now our requirement is clear. Let's go to the program, create the program. Now naming convention is very important. Okay, you can create the program with any name starting with Z, but it doesn't look good. You have to maintain always, even in the practice programs, please try to maintain proper naming convention, because that is very important. Okay, don't create with any junk names. Okay, your program name should reflect the functionality of the program and the use of the program, the requirement of the program. Okay, so I'm creating a program. Who requested this program? For which functional domain it is?
Which
I'll use zdemo underscore, because I usually we need to use like this zhr. Okay, zhr underscore employee
employee
report. Okay, but I'll try to use zdemo because I can easily search my program. Okay, zdemo underscore hr underscore employee report. Create the program. Report by doj. This is the program title. What is the type of the program?
executive.
Executable program, which can execute independently. Now assign the package. Click on save. and select your transport request if you already created it. Otherwise, create that new transport request. If it is a new program, if it is a new functionality.
Employee report.
So if you create any objects associated with this employee report, you have to assign to the same transport request. Don't assign to the different transport requests. We have already created a transport request, right, for this functionality. If you create any other objects like tables, data elements, assign to the same transport request. Don't assign to the diff different transport requests. Okay. Now mention your functionality here. Okay. Mention your functionality. In general, we're going to maintain who created those details also. For example, some user ID, your user ID, date is also important. Okay, it is also part of naming conventions of the project. And the transport request. Okay, I'm mentioning some random number, but you can check it in the SC09 and mention the name. Okay, version maybe that may not be required, but sometimes you need to mention the task ID. They'll assign some task, right? In any project, they're going to use some tools like Jira or HPALM. There are different types of project management tools. They'll assign you this task in the tool. Okay, you can mention the task ID. Okay, let's assume the task is this 100. Okay, this is all commented code. This is not going to be executed. Okay, this one we called as a change log. Next time when someone changed the program, that the resource has to add one more change, the date of change, the transport request, and why he changed it, existing functionality. Okay, now design the selection screen. What is the first step? We need to design the selection screen, and we know what are the inputs. Do we need single input or multiple inputs? He's asking about date of join. Is it a single input or range of values? He wanted to see employees joined on a specific date or January 1st, or he wanted to see the employees joined between January 1st to January 10th. What is his requirement? He wanted to provide a single value as input, or he wanted to provide a range of values from start date to end date.
Joining. Only started.
You know, you
Joining.
know, you know already parameters like how to provide input. That is p underscore doj type. What is the data element? Go to the table and check. Here observe one more thing. How it is looking here? You can provide input like this for date of join. This is the single input, but if you provide like this,
In between those days, we'll get the total data.
between 1st December to 15th December, execute. How many you got?
6 records.
6 records, right? So what is his requirement? What is the manager's requirement? He wanted to see employees joined on a specific date or he wanted to see range of inputs from first to 10th. He wanted to see all the employees. Let's assume his requirement is range of data, range of inputs, 1st December to 5th December. Like that, he can provide range. Okay, that's what is requirement. Let's say it is range, because you know already, you already know, right, how to define a parameter. This is parameter, and okay, what is the data element for date of join? Now city. Let's see how we can provide range. Let's assume they wanted to pass only single value as input for city. So ZDemo city is the city data element. Okay, let's complete using single value input. Then we'll change the program to range of inputs. Okay. Now my selection screen is ready. My inputs are ready. What we need to do? What is the pending thing for selection screen? What is pending in selection screen design?
Fetch the data.
Sorry, what?
We have to fetch the data from.
No. Selection screen. I'm talking about selection screen. Inputs. Is there any pending? Is there any pending
Date
task
of
in
joining.
selection screen?
The selection.
We have to
Employee date of
provide
joining.
selection text. These are all technical names, right? We have to provide proper selection text. Okay. Go to text elements, selection text, city, and date of join. And activate this. It looks good, right? And that HR manager can understand what he needs to enter in first input and second input. If you provide some technical names, he may not be able to understand, right? What is P underscore DOJ? What is P underscore city? He might confuse, right?
Yes, sir.
You have to provide selection text. That is mandatory. Now I'll add one more addition to this selection screen. Selection screen, begin of block. I'll design a block with no block B1. Name, provide a name. Provide a name. I'm naming it as B1. That black as name B1 with frame. I want to design a block with frame. Okay, that's it. Selection screen, end of block B1. So I'm designing a block here in the selection screen. This is nothing to do with functionality. This is only for design purpose. Okay. Now execute. Now observe this block, this box. Have you guys observed this?
Yes, sir.
Have you guys observed this box? Now, if you want to provide some text for the manager, or you wanted to provide some inputs, or you wanted to provide some data here, some text here, or maybe the purpose of this input fields, or you wanted to provide some suggestions, whatever you want. Where you can provide, add selection
Frame
with
title
frame
text, title
title,
text.
and you have to create the text. That
Text
is
01
where you
02.
can create. Go to, that's okay.
Text
If you are
elements.
not able to follow, that's okay. Okay, just observe. Go to text elements, go to text symbols, enter the name, enter whatever you want to display there. I'm providing some data. Okay, enter joining date. Click on enter. It will generate the text symbol number. What is the number it is generated for this?
00.
00001. Now observe this. Now activate this. Go back. Text hyphen, not test, text 0001. This is called text symbol. What do we call this?
Text symbol.
Text symbol. Going forward, we are going to use this. Going forward, we are going to use this instead of hard-coded messages. We have implemented some messages, right? Please enter the value. Okay, no data available. We have written like this. Message, enter data, type some e. We have maintained the message like this, right? With some hard-coded data.
Yes.
So going forward, we are going to replace this with the text symbols because hard-coded data is not recommended in the program. Okay. The first review, if you completed the program and if you submit to your lead or someone, they'll review your code. What is the first point they are going to find out? This hard-coded text. It is not recommended to use hard-coded text. Okay. There are many alternatives to remove hard-coded text. The first alternative is maintaining it as text symbol. Okay. How you are going to maintain? So copy this data, whatever you want to maintain, go to text elements, go to text symbols and enter the value here, whatever, type your message, whatever you want to display. For example, I want to display like this. Click on enter, it will generate another number. Activate this. Instead of this hard-coded text, what you need to use? Tech, tech, text hyphen 000 002, right? Now we can eliminate the hard-coded text. Now the text is coming from text symbols. Okay. Now we'll see how this text will work with frame. Okay. That will display like this. Clear? We can divide the inputs by blocks. Okay. You can divide the inputs by blocks. Let's say just copy this and I will create one more block B2. I'll use text 2 here for a frame title. I'll date of join 1, city 1 because you cannot create same parameters with the same name. That's why I'm just changing it. Change the block 2 as B2. It is displaying in two different blocks, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
this is how you are going to design your selection screen. So since we have only few inputs, these are all not required, but in general, you might have 10 or 15 inputs also. So you're going to make use of this selection screen begin of block option to design the selection screen. Okay. So is it mandatory to have it? Selection screen begin of block. Even if you don't use it, the program will work as it is. But just for visualization. Okay. for just for visualization, rich design, we are going to use this. Okay. Remove this. Now our selection screen is completed. What is the next step? What I am saying, date of join is mandatory, right? Shall we keep it as obligatory? Date of join is obligatory because it's a mandatory input. Now what is the next step? What is that? What next? We have to start with the events, right?
Initialization.
Initialization. What is the next event? At
At
selection
selection.
screen. What is the next event?
Start of selection,
And
end of selection.
End of selection.
end of selection. Is that HR manager expecting, or is your functional consultant expecting any default out input for any of these? For example, the HR manager is expecting some default date. That is, when he is executing the report today, he wanted to see yesterday's date. Okay. If he is executing today, he wanted to populate yesterday's days by default. That is P underscore DOJ equal to, tell me, if he is executing today, that is December 15th, he wanted to see December 14th as input. How you can do that?
SY data minus
That's why
quantity
that.
item.
City also he wanted to see some default city. That is P underscore city equal to some Hyderabad. Okay, clear? And what is the validation they want? The date of join should not allow date prior to 2010. That's what their requirement. It should not allow to use date prior to 2010 because there is no data available before 2010 because the company established after 2010. So that is the validation they are expecting. If P underscore DOJ is less than 2010 0101, then rise a error message. What type of message we need to rise?
Enter valid DOJ.
Enter valid date. After 2010.
Some date I want to make. What is the type?
E.
What is the type? Message type.
E.
Type is E.
Here.
Now we are using this hard coded text, right? I told you, right? It is not recommended to use a hard coded text. Let's, where do we need to keep it? Where do we need to maintain this text? To replace this text, hard coded text, what we need to do? Maintain this text in text symbols. Go to selection text, sorry, text elements, go to text symbols, maintain the text here or type your own. Okay. Or date before 2010 is not allowed. This is what my error message. Enter. What is the number? text symbol number 3, right?
Yes.
Activate this. So instead of this hard coded text, use your text symbol, text hyphen 003. Okay. Is there any hard coded values? Still, do we have any other hard coded values? Can you observe the program? Is there any hard coded values available here?
Yes.
Yes, right? City is also a hard coded value, right? Now tell me what we need to do this. How we can replace this hard coded value? How many of you remember the constants? For this kind of values, you have to create constant. Okay. Don't provide value. Don't pass values like this. Create a constant. Constants. For example, global constant. Let's say it is a constant C underscore city or HYD. Let's take HYD. What is the type of this constant? What is the type of the city data element? Take the data element, city data element, type. What is mandatory for constant? Value. You have to provide the value here. You have to assign the value. Value is Hyderabad. Okay. So what is the property of constant? What is the property of constant? Tell me what is the difference between variable and constant?
Variable we can change
Variable value can be
during
changed
runtime
during
of the
program
program.
runtime, but
Cannot
constant
The
value
program
cannot be changed,
be changed.
right?
change.
Now, instead
Yes.
of this hard coded value, use this constant name here. Okay, clear? So it will work. I'm not saying this hard coded value is not going to work. It will work. But as per program naming conventions, we should not use hard coded values. Okay, clear? That will work anyway. Even if you provide the hard coded value, it will work as it is. But as per the programming guidelines, you should not use hard coded values. Any other hard coded value in the program? Is there any other hard coded value in the program? Just check the code. Tell me, is there any hard coded value in the program?
No.
No? Then what about this?
Dates.
Is it not a hard coded value? Yes, right?
Yes. Yes.
It is also a hard coded value. Then what we need to do now? How to replace this hard coded value? Do we need to use text symbol or constant? This is a value, right? Not text. This is not a message or any text, right? This is a value, right?
Yes, sir.
What we need to create for this?
Constant.
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 We have to create a constant. This is not a text. This is not a message text to create the text symbol. This is a value, date value. For this, we have to create constant. So what is the type of that constant? For example, some C underscore date type. What is the type?
Uh, um,
What is the type? What is this condition? Where P underscore doj is less than, we are comparing with which value? Which field?
Date of joining.
Date of join, right? What is the type of this value? Date type, right? You can just take D, or you can just take whatever the data element we are using for date of join. If you know the data type, you can take D, or just take whatever the data element you are using for date of join. Value What is the value? Whatever the value you are using here as hard-coded value, keep it here. So instead of hard-coded value, provide this constant.
C underscore data.
Clear? So I'm explaining in detail how we create it in the projects. Okay, please concentrate. Is there any other hard-coded value?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. What is this?
Error message.
Error message.
This is type of message, but is it a hard-coded value or not?
Yes,
Yes,
sir. It
sir.
is.
It
Coded.
is also a hard-coded value.
Yes, sir.
So how many characters? Only one character, right? Let's create one more constant. Or you can also, yeah, constant is a suitable one. Error type, I'll give C. What do you meaning of C?
Character.
Character. I'm not providing any length. What is the default length?
1.
1. 1 is enough, right? For E,
Yes, sir.
we don't need to provide length because you are going to have a default length 1. We are going to pass only one S, E, A or X. If you want success message, create one more constant for success message. C underscore. Okay. For success, type yes. Like that. Okay. Use that constant in the type. Here, what is the constant we have to use? Instead of E,
C underscore.
C underscore error. Okay. So we have eliminated all the hard coded values, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm not
Yes.
saying if you don't use constants, your program is not going to work. Your program will work, but it won't pass the review. Your lead will reject this program because there are a lot of hard coded values. Clear? And even I'll show you how to check your program. Is it as per the guidelines or not? You can generate a report and see what are all the missing guidelines in the program. We'll see that in the next session. Okay. For now, we have eliminated hard coded values and we have implemented the validation. Now, what is the next thing? Our validation is completed. Our validation part is also completed in net selection screen. Next, go to the business logic. Now, go to your requirement document. What is your requirement? You have to select data from ZDemo table with these fields: employee ID, employee name, date of join, city, and phone number. Write your select statement. Select. Do I need to use star? Do I need to use star
No, sir.
or
Particular fields.
individual fields? How you are going to decide that? If you need to use star or if you need to use individual fields. I'll give you some small math. Simple. Go to your table. How many fields are there in the table?
6.
6 fields are there in the table. How many they are asking for? How many fields we are going to use?
Two.
How many fields we are using here?
5, sir.
5.
4.
5.
ID, employee name.
Employee ID, employee name, date of join, city, and phone number.
ID, phone number.
5 fields, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm almost using 90% of the fields, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm using most of the fields except only one field. Then I can go for select star. I'll go for select star. I don't need to maintain all these individual fields, field by field. I don't want to maintain. I'll just go for select star because I'm using most of the fields, right? Why should I list out? Why should I list down all the fields in the select statement? There is no use. for only one field. Let's assume you are using only two fields. Let's assume you are using only two fields. That is only 50%. Let's assume 50% of your table fields. Do I need to use select star or individual fields?
Individual fields.
Individual fields. You have to go with individual fields because it will improve the performance by 50%, right? But if you are using almost all the fields, you're not going to. You may improve only 0.5% of the performance. That is not considerable, right? Let's say if you take some Mara table, you'll have 200 fields. You are using only 10 fields. It's around 5%, right? If you are using only 10 fields out of the 200 fields, then you need to use those individual fields, those individual 10 fields. Let's say you are using 190 fields out of the 200 fields. Do we need to list down all those 190 fields in the select statement?
Select star.
Because you are using almost 90% plus fields, right? There is no use, there is no point in listing out all those fields, 190 fields in the select statement, because you are using almost all the fields. Use select star. Okay, clear? If you are using 90 plus fields, then we can use the select star, 90% plus fields. Please use that calculation. And in some projects, even microseconds also counts. Then you need to use the specific fields. Okay, only the required fields. Now I am using select star because I am using almost all the fields. There's no point in listing out each and every field. Okay, from which table? Into, tell me the syntax.
To table.
Into table. I'm using inline declaration. I'm not defining the internal table separately using data statement. Data lt underscore emp data or lt or it. That's your choice. Also, please remember, don't write continuously. Okay, don't write continuously. Okay, like this into table where emp. What is our condition? What is our selection condition? Date of join, right? Where date of join equal to, use escape character p underscore doj, and what is the other selection condition we have?
City.
City. City equal to whatever the city entered by the user, p underscore city, right? Can we write select statement continuously? Is it going to work like this? It will definitely work, but it is not recommended to write in the continuous line, because when you are debugging, you can't see all this code in the debugger screen. Okay, it is not convenient in the debugging mode. Okay, so please break it after how many characters, in which position it is? 97th position, right? Correct. In which position it is? The end.
97.
97th position. Please break at least after 60th position. Okay, let's make it like this. Don't write beyond 60 characters. Write it in the next line. Okay, clear? Or you can also break it like this. Okay, now what next? If sy hyphen sub rc is not equal to 0. What is the meaning of this? If the above select statement is not successful, if we are not able to find any data with these inputs, what we need to do? Message no data available. Type, what is the type? Let's use information. Okay, because data is not available, that doesn't mean that it's an error, right? The inputs what you are trying is not available in the table, that is not an error. Okay, for example, your HR manager is trying to check uh, employees who joined on 12th December. There may not be any joinings on that day, right? That may not be an error, right? That is not a data error, right? That is not an invalid value, right? That is not an invalid
Yes, sir.
value, but there is no joinings on that day. Okay, so we have to provide information. Okay, no joinings happened on December 15th. Okay, that is the information. That is not an error in that case. Okay, or you can also give status success type yes. How can you replace this hard coded value? What we need to use?
Text symbol.
Sorry, what is it?
Text symbol.
Text symbol. We have to use text symbol. Go
Text
to
symbol.
selection text because it's a message, right? No data available. Enter. Activate it. What is the text number? Text hyphen 004.
0.
I'm returning the success message only, even though there is no data, because it's not an error. No joinings on that day in that city, right? Now let's display the output in end of selection. So end of selection is optional. Okay, you can also display here. Use one space. Use one space here and give one space and close the bracket. Okay. If you want to display it in end of selection, how you need to check? If this internal table contains any records, how can you check that? Is that internal table contains data or not? How can you check? Is not initial, right? Is not initial means what is the meaning of this statement? If this internal table contains at least one record. Is initial means I'm removing not. Now what is the meaning of this?
Has no records.
If this internal table contains no records, empty. Is initial means empty. Is not initial means not empty. Then you can display it here. If there is some data, display it. Otherwise not. Let me comment this. Or you can also display it in else part. Let me comment the else part for now. Is my requirement fulfilled, completed as per the requirement document? Completed or not? What are they asking? Program to display employees by joining date and city. Am I selecting data by joining date and city or not? We are selecting, right?
Yes, sir.
Now activate, and I'm displaying the output, and that output should contain all these fields. Now execute. So by default it is showing previous date, like yesterday's date, and city. By default it is displaying Hyderabad. Let's execute. What it is saying?
No data available.
No data available. Let's go and check the table. Date of join is 14th December. 14th. City is Hyderabad. Do you have any entries on that date, on that city?
No, sir. No, sir.
No table entries. Let's remove the city. Even on that date, no joinings happened. Let's try different date, or let's first check the data. Try Hyderabad city 0112. On 0112 we have joinings. On 06th December also we have joining for Hyderabad location. Change the date and use the city Hyderabad. How many employees joined on 6th December in Hyderabad location?
2.
2 employees.
So this is the phone number. So that HR manager have all the details, right? What he needs.
Phone number.
So
Name.
he can, if you want to contact with the employee, he can contact, right? We can also provide email and everything. But here we have selected data from only single table. But in general projects, we may need to select it from multiple tables, and we have to merge that output into a single output. Okay? Merge that data into a single output. And this report output, we are going to display it in the ALV report going forward. Okay? This is not a ALV report. ALV report would be more convenient, and we have many additional options. This is just a sample output display. Okay? We're not going to use it in the projects, in the applications, any project related applications. This is just for testing. Okay? Right? The projects also you can use it when you are doing some test program, right? To check some functionality, you can quickly use this CL demo output to display the output. Okay? But actual display we use ALV reports. Okay? Let's try Chennai. Chennai city, how many joinings are data there on 6th December? No data. So for Chennai location, there is one, right?
Yes, sir. 1.
There is one employee, right? From Chennai location, actually two.
2 employees, sir. 2 employees.
Looks like there is a typo. Execute. Yeah, I typed city name wrong. But there are 2 employees, right? From Chennai location. Let's try. So these are all your unit testing. What I am doing here? What I am doing now? By executing the data, what is this? By providing different inputs, I'm executing the program, right? What do you call this?
Testing.
Unit testing. Who is doing this? I'm a developer. I'm doing the testing, right? By providing different inputs. What do you call this test? What do you
Unit
call this
testing.
process?
Unit testing.
Unit
It's called
testing.
unit testing. Okay. A test, the basic testing performed by the developer. Now let's pass date before 2010. I'm passing 2009 date. Then execute. What is the expected output? It should display error message. Working or not? It is displaying the
The
error or
date
not?
before 2010 is not.
It is the expected error. So the program is working as expected, right? It should display the error when user entered the date before 2010. So it is working, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have to do all this test. You have to validate all these conditions before going to submit this program to your lead or your functional consultant. Before going to say that my program is completed, you have to do all these tests. You have to perform the unit testing and make sure all the conditions are working, right? And again, you can't do complete testing. You can do this basic testing. Okay, further testing will be happened in test server, more detailed test. Okay, so now my program is working as expected. I'm going to update the technical specification document with the program name and some pseudocode. And I am going to maintain my transport request number in the technical specification document. And in some projects, we have to create unit test document. What is unit test document? Just execute your program, take the screenshots of each scenario. Scenario 1, the program should not allow date beyond 2009, 2010, right? That is the first condition. Test case 1, our program should not allow date before 2010. Check that. Take the screenshot of the selection screen. Take the screenshot and check. Is it working? Test case 1 is working. It is raising the error message if you enter invalid date. Next, second test case. Our program should display employees by date of join and city. Working, right? Second test case. Take the screenshots and maintain in the document. Test case 2 also working. What is third test case? Date of join is a mandatory input, right? Remove the date of join and execute. So it is working. It is not allowing without date. So you have to maintain these test cases. And once your testing is successful, hand over it to the functional consultant. They'll do the code review. Okay? Not functional consultant, your lead will review the code and we can move it to the test system by releasing the transport request. Now, let's assume your code review is completed. Your lead approved it to release to the test system. Next, what is the next step? You have to release your transport request, right? To move it to
Yes.
move this application to the test server, go to SE09. Go to SE09 and find your transport request. Where can you find your transport request assigned to the program? Go to utilities, versions, version management. This program is assigned to any transport request, you can find here. Right? This is the transport request assigned to this program. This is the initial version. We haven't released this to test, right, yet. Now, this is the SC09 screen. This is the SC09. What is your transport request? You have to check it in the modifiable requests. Do you remember the, because it's a test server, right? Thousands of guys are creating transport requests. We have to find.
Hello.
So here it is selected as earlier workbench request is not selected. Now select the workbench request because whatever the objects we have selected, we created under comes under workbench request like programs, data elements, domains, tables. It's going to generate a workbench request. Customizing request will be generated by functional consultants for configurations data. Display. These are transport requests, right? 8088 and subtask is 8099. Clear? So
Yes,
now
sir.
what we need to do to release this transport request? First, select this subtask. Don't release directly. Always do some validation before releasing it. Select it. Go to complete check. Display inactive objects. There is no inactive objects. Let's assume you did some changes to the program. Let's assume change the program. You did some changes to the program and you forgot to activate, right? You should not release the inactive version to the test system, right? Now it is inactive. We should not release the inactive version to the test system, right? We should always release active version. So display inactive objects. Is it inactive or not? So go and activate your program. So you have to always check that before releasing the transport. Refresh or do that again. Check that again. Go to check. Display inactive objects. No inactive objects now. And the next check is syntax check. Select the subtask. Go to complete check and check the request consistency. The request is consistent. No errors in the transport request. Complete check. Simulate release. What is simulate release option? It will simulate it. It won't actually release the transport request, right? It is not really going to release the transport request, but it will simulate that process. Request is simulated. So no errors identified. Now release that request. You need to use this release directly. Subtask is released. Is that enough? You have to release your main task also. Select your main task. Just place the cursor. Don't double click. Place the cursor and click on release directly. Now my transport request is released. It is removed from modifiable list. Where can I find this? This is that, which one? This one, right? Employee report.
Release
So
list.
now I can find this in release list. Okay. Now what is the next step? Okay, you release your transport request. What is the next step? Copy this transport request and send email to your lead or to your basis consultant, or I've released so and so transport request to the test system. Update the stakeholders. Stakeholders nothing but who are all involved in this application development. Your lead, basis consultants, functional consultants. Okay, not for all, who are working on this application, who are relevant for this application. Okay, update them by sending an email. That's it. Basis consultant will import that release transport request to test system, right? And the testing team will start testing it once that code is available in the test system, right? This is the process. Is everyone clear? So this is the complete process of creating a program to release it to the test system. If they find any errors in the test system, they'll ask you to fix the errors. And again, you need to change the program in development system, and it will ask for a new transport request. Create a new transport request, and once your changes are completed, release it to test system. Okay, clear? Let's say, yeah, we'll here we have left one hard coded value. Let's fix that. We forgot to replace the hard coded value. Now save. Now it is asking a new transport request, right? It is already released. This transport request is already released. Even if you try to add to this, it won't allow. What it is saying?
Already released.
It is
It's
already
run.
released. So create new transport request. Report 2. I'm naming it as transport request 2. Activate it. And you fixed your issue in the program. What is the next step? Go to SC09. Do some testing before releasing. Whenever you do some changes, right, before releasing, just perform the unit testing. Make sure your program is working. Okay, whenever you do any code change. Now go to SC09 again. So the cycle will continue until your program is testing is completed, and they sign off the testing. This is your transport request, right? Check. Do all the checks: consistency, inactive, simulate the release. Simulated. No issues identified. Release it. Subtask is released. You have to release the main task also. So in some projects, they use separate transport mechanism where we release only subtasks. We call this as TOC. Okay, we'll see that additional options later. But in general, we release subtask and main task in most of the projects. That's what we follow. So our main task also released. Now update this transport request to your team, whoever involved in this development, your lead, your functional consultant, and your basis team. Okay, so that say that I have released this transport request, please import it to test system. Once it is imported to test system, the testing team will start testing again. Okay, this is about developing one simple application. So the complexity will be more. We may use multiple tables, multiple loop statements, read statements, everything, but the process is same. Okay, number of lines of code might increase, but the process what we did now, it is what we follow in the projects. Okay,